It's time for Wake Up Mintzy, presented by the fine folks of Dude Wipes. We're coming to you, as always, not live from the Barstool Sports Chicago office. I'm in a damn good mood. This summertime in Chicago thing, it might be the realest thing ever. The vibes are high. Football season's in the air. Yet somehow it's like still 70 with the breeze. It doesn't seem real. And you know what else gets me in a good mood? My guy Tyler Moody in the flesh. He's in the office this week with me. Moody, how we doing, buddy?
Hey, man, I'm feeling pretty good after hearing that fiery intro from you, and the weather is incredible up here. I just left like 96, 97 down south. I walk out. It's a beautiful 75 this morning. Birds are chirping. It's a great morning to wake up. It really is.
Dude, let's wake up. Let's get our minds right. And if things get messy, we know who to call on. Dude Wipes all over the country. Amazon, Target, Walmart, nationwide. I know you've probably been needing some Dude Wipes walking around that 100-degree Louisiana heat. What a practical summer product.
Yeah, no doubt. We call it mud butt down there.
Yeah,
mud butt for sure.
Well, the cure for mud butt in the summer, right here, Dude Wipes are taking over the toilet paper world. We got a fun show today. Wonton Don going to join us here in the studio in a minute. The Barstool foreign correspondent. Been following his content. He went to Lisbon, Portugal, or Lisbon. I said it wrong. Shocking. And then he was in Paris for the Olympics. I can't wait to hear some of his best stories. Always great to catch up with the Don. But before we do that, I want to catch up with Moody. Because I don't know if y'all have been following this. 50 Cent has taken over our whole hometown of Shreveport. And I was seeing some of the wildest damn pictures I've ever seen from North Louisiana this weekend. That Humor and Harmony Fest. I look up and get a text on Thursday night. Dave Chappelle's out on the stage in Shreveport, Louisiana. Freaking comedies with set with Cat Williams and Matt Rife and Andrew Schultz. And then you got a bunch of rappers. Like, what the hell is going on, Moody? We party with 50 all weekend?
So listen, first off, for those that don't know, Shreveport, Louisiana is one of the most ratchet places in the country. It's called Ratchet City for a reason, right? And so 50 Cent has come to Shreveport now. He's moved G-Unit operations to Shreveport. G-Unit Studios has taken over Shreveport. He throws this huge festival, Humor and Harmony Festival this weekend. Matt Rife, Andrew Schultz, Cat Williams, DaBaby, you name it, Usher was there. I mean, literally everybody that was anybody was in freaking Shreveport, Louisiana this weekend. And for the first time in the history of Shreveport, Louisiana, we went 4 days without gun violence. So it is safe to say that Shreveport is now G-Port, and 50 Cent can be the mayor as far as I'm concerned.
Look, all I know is I have to comment on this. So there was like a whole festival. It's called Humor and Harmony. Thursday, there was like comedy shows in Muni. Dave Chappelle was the unannounced surprise guest in Shreveport. And my buddy, who will remain nameless, he took his wife to the comedy show that dropped her off at home. And then he went out to the Gold Dome, which is usually centenary basketball, very low key. And he said 50 Cent threw the damnedest party he's ever seen in his life. He had like $350,000 $1 bills chucking around. Everybody was getting blasted. Wild times in the port. But the 50 Cent takeover, I'd like to see. I was wondering, so I'm glad that you made it past party of 50. And now we're joined by a man that's gone a lot farther than Shreveport, Louisiana recently. Our good friend, the Wonton Don. He's been back from a couple-week European excursion. Started in Lisbon, but he tore it up in Paris. I mean, the content was amazing. And, went floating in the hippo mode. Is it how do you say it, scene?
The Sen, I think. Yeah. I think it's a Sen.
Did you feel like you sinned when you got in there with how dirty it was?
I mean, I definitely full scented into the Sen, but I feel fine. I think that dip was like 5 days ago, and no E. coli, water temperature was perfect. And they had Olympic events in it too. There were a lot of reports of the Olympic athletes getting sick, but they were doing like a marathon swim, a triathlon, where they're in that river for like 2 hours swimming hard. So you're going to swallow some water at some point.
How long did you go hippo mode?
I was just in there for maybe 10 minutes, 10, 15. There weren't any police walking by. So it's like, I just thought all the tourists were going to be like, oh my God, what is he doing? Like, someone called the cops. No one cared when I jumped in, to the point where I feel like I probably could have tried swimming across it. There was a strong current, so I would have gotten pushed down to some other part of Paris, but I feel like I could have made it across.
Well, look, I'm going to pump your tires for a second. You obviously know I'm a big fan. I'm like your biggest. You've got a lot of fans in this building. I might be your biggest. I freaking love it. Dude, you get out there and you do the most unique content. you go anywhere, you don't give a damn, you assimilate into the cultures. I mean, I retweet literally every time you post something. I'm
Thank you, man.
biggest supporter because I like to get out and do stuff. But man, you take it to a level I hadn't seen. Was that your first Olympics?
I went to the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang, something like in South Korea. But the Winter and Summer Olympics are very different. I think if I could do it all over again, I would probably just go really hard for the second week of the Olympics. Because then I was there. I got there like the day before the opening.
No, you were there.
Ceremony.
I felt like you were there a long time.
I was there a long time, and then I was starting to get burnt out by the end. But like the end is actually when all the coolest stuff is. You have
the gold medal
basketball. Like, so I left like the morning of the gold medal basketball match just because like at first I was only going to be there till the 5th, and I was there till the 10th, and I wasn't looking at dates, and I was like, I'm not going to change my flight for a third time. But now I'm like, what's one more day? I should have just stayed for the gold medal basketball game. Not that I had a ticket to the game. I think the cheapest tickets for that game were like €1,000 at the time. But just being able to watch it at a bar nearby the stadium probably would have been a cool vibe.
All right, we're going to do a quick trip review. So this thing started, you went to Portugal first.
Yeah.
And I've heard, I've never been, but I've heard Portugal is beautiful and the food and the wine are great. How was Lisbon?
Yes, it was great. I had heard that too. My wife was going there with a couple friends right before the Olympics started. So I was like, all right, I could do a few days in Portugal, test out the live streaming backpack. And beautiful city, very hilly, surrounded by beautiful castles. There's a place called Sintra where you can go see these incredible castles, beautiful beaches close to the city. It's cheap. The Ubers were like I'm used to when in Europe you take like a taxi, it's going to be extremely expensive.
Okay, kind of like New York is.
Yeah, no, the Ubers were crazy cheap. The food was cheap, and the food was awesome. Like, can you name any types of Portuguese food?
I think of like Portuguese crosses over because they speak Portuguese in Brazil, and so I feel like there's a crossover. Is that feijoada or whatever, the Brazilian dish? Is that Portuguese? The stew, the black bean stew? Maybe that's Brazilian.
Might be.
I just
know
there's a crossover because they speak Portuguese in Brazil. But Portugal, what is it, like seafood? I know the Porto wine. They have that dessert wine they're known for.
Yeah. And they did have a lot of great seafood. They're famous for their egg tarts. Have you ever seen those?
I don't think I have.
It's like a Portuguese egg tart. They're like, I tried them in China because there was like a little bit of a Portuguese influence in Macau over there, but they were incredible. I also tried something called, what were they called? Cod necks or cod throats.
Wow. So fish necks or throats? How were they, like tender or?
Extremely tender. They were deep fried. I guess it's a delicacy over there and also in like Newfoundland.
Okay.
It's actually, they call it cod necks. They call it cod necks, but apparently it's like the muscle in the throat of a cod that's like extremely tender.
Really?
Yeah, that was probably the most unique thing.
I would say I hadn't heard of that. I mean, I've heard of like eating lamb necks, you know.
Yeah, no.
And then like you'll even do heart and like some stuff like that, but I've never heard of a cod one.
Yeah.
I got got your cod tarts right there. It's
right at the top of you. Those are the egg tarts.
The egg tarts, yeah, my bad.
No cod in those things, but yeah, those are a delight. And so yeah, I would recommend. They got very cheap flights to Lisbon from the East Coast. So I feel like it'd be a good first time abroad trip for someone who's never traveled abroad, but you want to feel like you're in a foreign country because it feels foreign enough, but you'll be able to navigate. A lot of Americans, I guess, have been moving there, retiring there. It's kind of becoming a little bit of a problem for the locals because they're driving up property prices and then like outpricing the locals.
Gentrification's hitting Portugal.
Yes.
Sua fala português?
No,
okay.
Not at all.
Eu falo português pouco.
Okay. Yeah? It's a tough language because it's like, I figured if you know Spanish, you can like know.
There's a lot of cognates.
Yeah. There's some similarities, but in other ways, it's very different.
No habla español is about all I got, boys. I took 3 years of Spanish in high school, but
yeah. So then made my way. Just
you do like a couple days in Lisbon.
Yeah. think I did.
All right, so then you're going to Paris. I want to hear about the full experience, the accommodations, everything. So you just start from the beginning. You roll into Paris. You're doing the Olympics. You've got your new rig. You've been doing the streaming backpack, and I feel like I know you were testing it in Chicago, but man, it seems like it's going pretty well.
Yeah, it's very easy to use. I'm excited to get other people in the office using it. So if anybody has like a YouTube page out here, they want to try using it, I can get you set up with it. I can walk you through it. I can be there for the first stream because
I feel like if I could like walk around the Grove at Ole Miss or Death Valley in Baton Rouge with it, it could be.
You could do that actually.
We could have a real thing.
We should do that.
Dude, I want you.
I've never been to the Grove, so
right.
I'm down for that. Yeah, and then it was crazy. I was like, okay, for sure they're not gonna let me bring a streaming backpack into events, but then they did. Like the opening ceremony, I just had to I put it in my bag as I was going through security, but I didn't stop filming. And then took it back out, and you're just at the opening ceremony. I made sure not to kind of film the boats because that could get me in a lot of trouble. But, yeah, so the first couple days it was just raining hard.
Okay, where are you staying?
We had an Airbnb in a great location of Paris. There was no AC, but the guy kind of reassured me. He's like, it's been a pretty cool summer so far. All you got to do is just open the windows. You get a little breeze. You don't really need AC. But once the rain stopped after a couple days, it was Paris got hit with a heat wave.
And it was humid, probably off the rain.
Very humid. And you're just, I don't know. I started to lose my mind because it was 3 or 4 days of that. And you try to work, you're sweating. You try to sleep, you're sweating.
That's the worst.
You walk outside, you're sweating. So I was just taking 3 cold showers a day. And then, slowly losing my mind. But we eventually upgraded to a new Airbnb, which had AC, views of the Eiffel Tower. But once we moved there, it actually cooled down in Paris a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you started out, you get there a day before, we'll just start with going to the events. I mean, you were getting out, you were meeting fans from all over the world. Because one thing about the Olympics, you don't mess around when it comes to filming footage, athletes. Their copyright, they're maybe more strict than anybody in the world. And so you're having to deal with that, and you've got a sponsor thing too. So you're already having to navigate a lot when it comes to the content.
Yeah. And trying to arrange interviews with athletes and stuff, that was just me sending DMs out to people, which is cool. Olympic athletes are really nice because
they're pretty accessible, I would think.
They're very accessible because it's not
major, it's
Yeah, it's not they're getting bombarded by journalists 24/7. It's kind of these 3 weeks every 4 years is their time to shine.
Yeah, it's their moment in the sun, and they dedicate their whole lives for years for those 3 weeks.
Yeah, so most of them were very friendly, down to link up and chat. And then
I saw the fencing video with the fencing guy.
Yeah, we're so we got in contact with some people at the USA Training Center. They were come through. The first day we went, we talked to Nick Itkin, the bronze medalist fencer for Team USA. And then just after that interview, we're walking around and we run into Snoop Dogg, who's also just hanging out there.
I didn't see the Snoop thing.
Yeah, ran into Snoop. That was one of my first days there, and I was pretty starstruck. I was even too starstruck to ask for a selfie, so I was kind of just filming him taking selfies with other people because he's there to hang out with the athletes. I felt kind of bad taking Snoop away from the athletes to just hang out with me.
I would like to know if Snoop knows what Barstool is.
He's very active on Instagram, so I'm sure he's shared a Barstool video at some point. I don't know if he knows there's a whole company behind the Instagram page. And then another day I went to interview the USA women's beach volleyball team, who, by the way, 2 LSU grads.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have a huge fan base down in Louisiana.
One of my really good friends' wives played volleyball there. Shout out Avery.
Yeah. They're LA used to be the hot spot for beach volleyball, but now LA is the hot spot of beach volleyball.
Dude, women's volleyball is a huge thing. In high school culture, it's gotten huge too. It's it's become a big U.S. thing.
Down in Louisiana too?
It's they will TV film, they'll film girls volleyball and boys football now. It's the thing. I mean, it's crazy that it's gotten like that. So you did that, did the girls volleyball. What all events did you go to, and what were some of your favorites?
I went to men's water polo Got to see Team USA.
I watched that. Man, I'm telling you, there's no harder thing to play in the world than water polo because it's so deep. Nobody's touching the ground.
It's
so
tough. Yeah.
The way they're swimming around, you're watching. You're like, dude, you have to be the shape you got to be in for that.
And there's a lot of violence we don't see that's happening under the water. I think there's
jockeying for position and stuff?
Jockeying for position, a lot of grab dick, I think. People, they play dirty under the water because the referee can't see what's happening down there. So there's a lot of kicking, probably punching people in the nuts. I don't know. So I watched
people wear cups or
no cups.
Okay.
So Team USA got beaten pretty handily by Italy at that match. But then later on in the tournament, they went on to win bronze, I think. So they had a huge comeback. I did not think Team USA would be medaling in water polo.
But yeah, well, I feel like it'd be tough to beat the Italians because one Marco Polo from Italy.
Yes, he was.
Boom.
Nation.
Crush
a
it.
good one, yeah.
Crush it.
Yes. I don't even know if the Croatians are known to be very, very good because they, like, when you're on the coast in Croatia, you'll see pickup water polo courts kind of in the water. So just like areas on the beach where there's 2 nets so you and your friends can just hop in and practice. Kind of like how we have basketball courts all over the place. Yeah.
That water polo, man, I got respect for that. So you did water polo. What other ones did you go to?
I got to see women's rugby.
Oh, I bet that
sevens,
was something.
Yeah, sevens, because like I had been to Hong Kong sevens a few times, but that was just a giant party where I never got to watch the sport. I actually got to like lock in and watch the sport, and that's a fun sport to watch. It's only like 7-minute halves.
So they just beat the crap out of each other.
Yeah, it's super fast paced. So there's a lot of like fast breaks and things like that. 3v3 basketball I got to see. I was there to support my guy Jimmer Fredette.
Yeah.
When I arrived,
did you get to hang out with him on this trip any?
I did not. He had a really heartbreaking trip. He was the number 1 ranked 3v3 player in the world. And USA was the number 1 ranked team. And like in the first few minutes of their second game, he pulled something in his groin.
That's terrible.
And so he was out for the tournament. I didn't know when I arrived at the game, his whole team's warming up except for him. He's on the bench wearing shades.
You're just like,
everyone
man.
Around him was like, Jimmer, and he's not turning around.
No, he's just not having it.
He did not look happy because in 3v3 you got to set your roster before the opening ceremony, and you can only have a 4-person roster, so 3 starters and 1 sub. Once he was hurt, and it's going to take him like 6 months to recover because he tore something bad. Then USA just had no subs the rest of the tourney.
And they ran out of gas.
Yeah. So they were just running out of gas in games. So that was heartbreaking for him. So he said he was down to meet up before I got to Paris. I think after that he was not really.
No, I don't blame him.
Not really
I'd have been pretty upset too if I were
in the mood. Yeah.
So okay, so those any other sporting events?
Yeah, I got to see beach volleyball.
Okay.
I got to see Italy take on Egypt. The skins versus shirts match, I think. If you just see, because the Egyptian team is completely covered up even when they're playing, and then Italy's just wearing bikinis pretty much.
That was probably quite a visual.
It was. Now, the night games at the beach volleyball court, that was probably the coolest event to go to at the Olympics because the court is right underneath the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, wow.
And at night it like lights up. We saw them in the morning, and it was hot as balls. But we managed to find a little shade. It was still that was the coolest venue, I'd say.
Hell yeah. What did you think about, like, okay, I mean, you said you had the Airbnb, you're walking around. What was Paris like during the Olympics? Have you been there before? What was your experience like there?
That was my first time in Paris. Yeah, I think it's a cool city. A lot of people were like warning me, it's actually really dirty. People were being like, oh, Parisians hate Americans.
It's probably different during the Olympics and the whole world's there, though, I would think.
Yeah.
Like not during like a non-tourist time, you know?
Yeah, I assume they cleaned it up for the Olympics. People were friendly. Besides the lady who gave me a fine for putting my feet on a train seat. I was just on the train. I just had my toes on the seat in front of me. She comes over. She's like, €60 fine. And boom, I had to pay it on the spot. She just walks over with the credit card machine. So, I mean, I wasn't going to people were like, "Oh, you shouldn't have paid it. You should have just said like you didn't have your wallet on you." But I didn't want to cause a scene at the moment, so I just paid it.
Yeah, not able to expense that one to Barstool either. I don't know.
Who knows? I did kind of turn into content a little bit.
Hey,
we'll see.
I'd love to see if that one gets approved.
Yeah.
Put me on a trade station. So did you get to like? I know you were out like you had your video where you met as many fans from different countries. What were some of your favorite fan interactions?
So I mean, I guess the favorite fan interactions were like people that were coming up to me being like, is the Wonton Don from countries where I didn't even know I had fans. Like I had a Venezuelan guy come up, a bunch of Mexican fans that I ended up partying with my last night. Some Mexican fans came up and they were like, holy shit, it's the Wonton Don. We have an extra ticket to the gold medal football match. And so I ended up just going to that with them.
Who was in the gold medal?
That was France versus Spain.
Oh my gosh, that had to be a tough ticket with it being France.
Went into overtime.
Who won?
France lost in overtime.
Oh, I bet that crowd was.
But yeah, no, like they had all these like hospitality houses too. So like Brazil had a house, Colombia did, the Netherlands, and checking out all those was cool. One of the house, like the Brazil house, always had a huge line because like inside they had beach volleyball courts, like all these cool bars and stuff. So that was a hot ticket to get. And then I was like, I'm not going to wait in this line for a couple hours. So I just walked up to the front and I was like, yeah, I work for Barstool Sports. Is there like a media entrance? And then he just like lets me right in. Didn't ask to see a thing. I don't even think he knew what Barstool Sports was.
They show united front, dude. Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, I should have tried using that more often. I didn't think it was going to work so easily. But yeah, the other hard thing about doing the Olympics though, as opposed to all of the other content I do, is like you got to get the content out right away or else it's not really relevant anymore. So like we have 3 athlete interviews that like haven't come out yet. And now it's like, well, if we drop them this week, like are people really going to care? That's a tough thing when you're covering an event like that. But doing the live streams helps because then it's just boom.
No, it's all in the moment. You're totally right. Everybody's in the moment, and the Olympics take over. So I got to ask, who parties the hardest of the foreign countries you hung out with?
So the Netherlands, their house, like if for all of their athletes that medal at the Olympics, afterwards they go to the Netherlands house, which has this huge arena, and they bring them out like they're a rock star. They bring them out on stage, the whole place cheers, then they shoot confetti cannons while the entire place sings "We Are the Champions." And then afterwards, that house turns into a rave. Where
wow.
Like I saw the athletes crowd surfing and stuff. So like they go hardest for their athletes. Like even the Team USA house, a very fancy house. You had to pay like 350 euros to even go inside that house. And they do like a ceremony for their athletes that win a medal, but it's not like a party. It's more of like a solemn
The USA
ceremony.
it's corporate.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Yes, yeah. The USA house is very corporate there.
Okay,
But
so,
it was in this like converted museum, so it looked nice.
so the Netherlands one was the partying spot. What as far as like, I mean, women from all over the world, did you pick up would you say which country had the most beautiful women? Was that or is there a way to judge that?
There was I'm trying to think. It was a lot of cute Parisians. Because like in these hospitality houses, it wasn't just people from that country, so that was hard to pinpoint. Maybe the Italians, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have.
What okay, obviously there are a ton of French, and they're like, you know, France being so close to all European countries. Like, who had the most fans other than France?
Who traveled the best? I mean, there was a bunch of Brazilians there. They surprisingly traveled well. A lot of Mexicans. Mexicans travel well wherever, like at the World Cup.
Oh yeah, they
There was
love it.
probably
They love
more
soccer.
Mexicans than anyone, like all the way in Qatar. The Italians, the Netherlands. Yeah, I'd probably say those were some of the top 5.
Okay. Hell yeah. So, okay. So they partied the harder. What else? Other questions that I have? Did you have any just particular, just like off the rails, wild experiences?
I'm sure I did. I'm trying to think. Besides,
'Cause I'm sure it all runs together after a couple weeks.
yeah, it does. I mean, the last night I had a flight, I think the next day at like 2, so I was like, all right, maybe I'll just try to like
Play through.
yeah, just try to like play through and go to the airport. And yeah, that's very easy to do in Paris. It's a late city. I was just like at this bar, all of a sudden I walk out and it's 7 a.m. And I do want to try doing this at some point. I didn't do it that night because I wanted to try doing a sunset to sunrise stream.
Ooh.
But that was on Friday night when they had Rough and Rowdy. So it's like I'm not going to be streaming through Rough and Rowdy. But I'll have to find another time to do that. I don't know if it would work in Chicago or not. There are some like late night spots, but also just wandering around at like 4 a.m. in Chicago might not be the best
We
move.
could do a Sunrise Fat Tuesday Mardi Gras thing. Could be unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because that's a
Bourbon
thing.
Street?
Yeah, or yeah, just the NOLA, the sunrise. There's like that's a huge thing. There's parties all over at 4 a.m. that night.
Okay.
That would be something that we could
I would do that. That is past, right? But
next year.
next year,
Hey, late February, early March.
let's do that for sure. I got to shout out the Smash Burgers in Paris. Best I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah.
I was gonna. We hadn't even asked yet on the food, like the Paris food. Like, I went one weekend in, like 23 years ago, so I can't really impart more than I walked around the Louvre and the Eiffel Tower, and
Yeah.
I did the tourist thing. That was my whole Paris experience. But the food was pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't. So I had one duck confit that was incredible. I mean, I had steak frites a couple times. Steak frites is just like a piece of steak and some fries. I don't know how.
Yeah,
that's-
it's good, but yeah, and everybody's got it. You see it everywhere too.
Yeah, I don't know how that's become like the signature dish of France. Like, it's very simple. It's not bad, but it's also it's hard to mess up steak frites, I'd say. A lot of trying to think about another wild night while I was
Did you
out there.
drink any good French wine?
No.
I guess you weren't
No, I
really
was
sitting. You're not
drinking-
sitting down. You're not going to nice restaurants though, sitting down for 3-hour French meals in this trip. I don't think so.
No, I had like a couple down days in the middle of the trip. I had duck hearts and escargot.
Ooh.
I guess that's like
I like the escargot.
a popular snack there. Ran into Max from Barstool completely randomly on the streets. That was fun. Because I knew he was in Paris, but we had no plans to meet up because I knew he was just on a vacation with his girlfriend. And then I'm like, I'd already been streaming for maybe 4 or 5 hours, 5 hours at that point. And I just grabbed a crepe and I'm wandering the streets and then just walk right into Max. So that was fun. And then I brought him to this party because it was the team Ireland Hospitality House was just this like raging Irish bar with live music.
I'm shocked.
And I knew a guy on the Irish squad who's the man. Shout out McNuts. So
McNuts from Ireland has to be awesome. I can't imagine this McNuts character. Like, if you have a name like that and you're from Ireland,
McNuts is the man.
I mean, that's a lot to live up to.
Yeah, he's the man. I guess he like lived in New York for a bit too, so he knew some people that I know from New York, but then lived in Ireland. Like his parents were Irish, and then he lived in Ireland for a while, so he was always qualified to play for their team. And he was someone that I ran into in Hong Kong. So then he was like, "Oh, I'm competing in the Olympics too. We should link." So it was like brought us to that house, which yeah, if you like Irish bars, go to the Irish House. I'm trying to think about
Sounds like a hell of a trip, man.
It was, but that, like, as I'm saying, I was kind of burnt out by the second
Yeah, well, I mean,
part
when
of
you
the
did
week.
like 10, 12 days, like, and the heat.
Yeah, my last, thankfully when we moved Airbnbs, it was a lot more comfortable, but my last like 5 days there was just wake up, edit till around 2, and then live stream until around 8, and then boom, you've just been going the entire day. Ran into Jake Marsh out there.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. I saw Jake was out there, and he went to the table tennis, and I saw you ran into. He was out there with his brother, I believe. How was I saw y'all's Rough and Rowdy preview video.
Yeah, no, it was fun running into him. Always a professional. What do I want to say about doing the live streams? Yeah, that was always tough to coordinate back too, because it's like you can't do a live stream in the morning because everybody in the U.S. is like fast asleep. So you're constantly figuring out time zones.
Like optimal. So you're waiting for that mid to late afternoon, early evening, I guess.
Yeah. And then like there's also things going on in here. Like we were doing that live stream summer games. In the office.
It's tough. That was a tough scene for me in the sumo wrestling.
Oh yeah.
I drew KB. Freaking.
I
was drawing deader than fried chicken.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough. Speaking of wrestling, John went to a wrestling match, and the Armenian fans were insane.
Really?
Yeah, those are. He see the vid he posted on Twitter, but that's probably the most insane fans I saw there were Armenian wrestling fans.
What was it? So obviously that gold medal basketball U.S. France is €1,000 ticket. Like what were like of the sports? What were like the hardest and most popular tickets?
Beach volleyball, gymnastics, I think.
Okay.
Basketball. Only the last 4 basketball games were in Paris. Then the other ones were like
I didn't realize
an hour
that.
outside of Paris. But so like I spent my first week. I was going to events, and then it was like, all right, I can't really use any of the content from attending these events.
Yeah, I reiterate how strict the Olympics
maybe
are.
I was playing it safe. Like I never did get in trouble, but when I was at the World Cup, like we were, like me and PFT went to the USA England game.
Yeah, the draw.
And we just filmed inside like the whole time. No, like none of those vids got flagged. I was just playing it safe because I don't know what.
No. When in doubt on that, like it's always and you got sponsors too. So
yeah. So then, like the second half of the week was not going to as many events just because I wouldn't be able to make content out of it.
Would you say you like the World Cup or the Olympics more?
I had more fun at the last World Cup, for sure. But this was just, it was a lot of like last minute stuff came up, a lot to navigate. You're doing you're reaching out to athletes, you're live streaming, you're video editing, you're trying to figure out what you're going to do the next day. So I do think if I go back, the next Olympics are in the U.S., so
2028 is what, LA?
Yeah.
And then the next World Cup, 2026, is North America, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
It's Canada, U.S., Mexico.
Yeah, hopefully I can be like the Mexican correspondent for that.
I feel like you can do whatever you want one time, Don. The world is your oyster.
But, yeah, so I think if I did the Olympics again, I would just plan to be out there for the last 7 days because that's when all the, VIPs come in too and stuff. Yeah, you have more. Of a
and everybody's coming for the end. That makes sense.
Yeah, running into random people. I did run into Bam Adebayo. That was also at the USA Training Center.
He was probably a hard guy to miss.
Yes, he was
7 feet tall.
He believed that I could be an Olympic archer, so I was honored by that.
Did he know what Barstool was?
You know what? I didn't even bring it up. I'm sure he did, just with the Pat Bev podcast and stuff. I think probably most people in the NBA, besides LeBron, would definitely at least
acknowledge it.
LeBron would probably pretend not to know what it is.
Like him and Roger Goodell, 2 people that don't know what Barstool is.
Yeah, because if he does, I can't see him being a huge fan. Even though I know Part of My Take have always talked about it, because Part of My Take haven't talked too much shit about LeBron, but they're he would never come on our podcast just because of who we work for.
Yeah, Dave always goes hard at him too.
Yeah, but yeah, so it was kind of a shit show at times, but obviously I'm never going to complain about being able to go to the Olympics in Paris for work.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, a great experience. I would just do some things a little differently next time.
But it's so hard to know everything exactly when you're going into a situation and just trying to assimilate. I don't know. You're just kind of figuring it out as you go. Also want to mention Rediscovering Chicago came out right before you went. It was awesome. We had loved the running around the Leaning Tower of whatever it was called.
The Leaning Tower of Niles.
Niles.
Yes.
Yeah. But man, that was fun.
Yes.
It was the shortest 100 laps ever, but it was like long because it was just the same thing and repetitive.
Kudos to you for actually
I finished.
finishing it. Once it was clear we had a winner, I was like, all right, I'm going to stop. But it was a good workout in. I think I got to like
I was drenched.
75 laps or something.
Your announcer was unbelievable.
Yes.
Shout at him. We got to get more with him.
Shout out Scott and shout out Rediscovering Chicago. Please watch it. Thanks for coming out to that event.
Yeah, we had a good crowd out there.
Yeah.
So what's you're back here for a little bit. What's I know you always got some plans. You getting to chill for a little bit, enjoy the rest of the Chicago summer?
Yeah, I am going to be chilling for a bit. As of now, the only thing I have on the books is I think this is pretty locked in, is a hair transplant field trip to Turkey in October.
I've been hearing rumblings that other people in this office are involved in that too.
Yes. Tentatively, White Sox Dave, Ken Jack,
Nikki Smokes, maybe.
Nikki Smokes, and Eddie are down. And then the clinic said we could also bring up to 10 fans. So if you're interested, send me an email. Donnie does at barstoolsports.com. I'll let you know how much it would cost. But
don't they? What do they do with your hairline? What is the?
They take donor hair from where you have hair, and I don't know. They do some sort of like transfer service. So then they take the hair follicles from where you have hair, and then they implant it in places where you don't have hair.
You have a good hair.
No, I'm not.
I feel like you're not one of the people that needs it.
I'm going as the tour guide because I've traveled to Turkey before. And when you hear Turkey, that's going to make some people from the U.S. nervous. I know Ken Jack already is extremely nervous. He was like, it might be World War III by then. Like, are you sure we're going to be safe? I don't know. The times I've been to Istanbul, I felt safe. They take very good care of their hair transplant clients.
I'm sure that's a huge business for them because they're the only people. I mean, the fact that y'all are willing to go all the way there shows they got a business model.
Yeah, because I mean, I think it's half the price, or a little bit. It's like even maybe it's like maybe a third the price of what you would pay in the U.S.
Wow. Well, you're paying the travel expenses. I'm sure make some of it back, but.
Yeah, well, then it's just a flight because, like, part of the package, it comes with hotels while you're there and stuff. So, yeah, you just got to throw on the flight. I know Portnoy and Marty Mush have gotten hair transplants in the U.S., but if you want to get it done for cheaper, come with us this October. I think maybe October 8th to 16th.
Wow, going for a full week. Are y'all traveling anywhere else?
Yeah, we'll see. You only need like 3 days to get it done. So then we'll probably just like have 3 days to do touristy stuff.
Also, so you just asked, you said you're still safe in Turkey. Where have you been in the world where you like felt sketchiest place you've been where you didn't feel safe? Is there anywhere?
Yeah, the hood of Santo Domingo in the DR, the Dominican Republic. I was there with White Sox Dave. Probably the shadiest place I've ever been. But we paid these guys like $200 to keep us safe. And then Manila in the Philippines, that has some like really seedy areas where like you leave your hotel at 10 in the morning and you have a bunch of prostitutes walking up to you.
Oh, wow.
And you don't even
10
know.
a.m. is a bold move. I mean, usually
10 a.m.,
Usually
yeah.
at least it's like late.
Yeah. So when you got like lady boys coming up to you at 10 a.m., you're like, all right, I might not be in the right neighborhood right now.
Okay, so Manila and the Santo Domingo.
Yeah.
I'll note to self to not make those. Have you ever been, like, I know you obviously lived in China for 6 years, spent a ton of time there. The two places I want to go are Thailand and Vietnam. Have you been to either?
Yes, I've been to both. Would highly recommend. Thailand, it's got beautiful beaches as well as great food. If you like, gun to my head, if I had to pick between Vietnamese or Thai food, I'm going to go Thai.
I would too, but it's a battle. It's close.
It's a battle. There's just more variety with Thai food.
I like the spice on Thai food too.
Yeah. So, Thailand's like tourism, I think, is the biggest sector of their
There's a ton of Americans
economy.
over there, right?
Yeah, you'll meet a lot of Australians too there. But yeah, that's a fun trip. Once again, it's only the flight that is really going to cost you a lot, because at least the last time I was in Thailand, if you paid $50, you were going to be staying at like a nice hotel. If you paid $100 a night, you're staying in like a very nice
Is it true
hotel.
you get like $10 hour-long massages on the beach? Is that like a fake thing or is that a real thing?
You could, yeah, I think so. I think you could probably get 10 to 20.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah,
I've,
for sure.
I wanted to do Thailand, like Vietnam. I've loved Vietnamese food too. I've always thought it was like beautiful. I guess I've watched all like the Bourdain.
Yeah, and then Vietnam's almost like you'll get more culture in Vietnam, and none of the locals hold a grudge against the Vietnam War. They're all really happy to see Americans. A lot of people will like rent a motorbike and then bike from North Vietnam to South Vietnam, and it just goes through all these beautiful mountains and coastline. You're not very good on two-wheeled vehicles, right? Okay,
That would be a negative.
so you might not.
But I would love to do Wake Up Mintzy yelling Good Morning Vietnam.
Good Morning Vietnam, yeah. Well,
No,
the thing is,
that would be something.
the fact that we have the live streaming backpack now, that would not be hard to do. You could do a week of shows from Vietnam, and it would be very easy for you. You could do an 8 a.m. show, and that would be 8 at night over there.
There's like an Asian Pacific poker tour that has Vietnam events, and I always thought that would be like hilarious
Yes.
to go over and play. What about the other one I ask? I always want to go to Japan too. Have you been to Japan?
Yeah, Japan.
I'm obsessed with their food culture with the izakayas and the sushi and the
best food culture of any place I've traveled to. It's the best place to eat, best place to drink. So Japan is awesome.
I think that might be one of the only times I consider coming out of retirement on the booze is like the Japanese izakayas drinking. I used to love drinking sake. I definitely did.
Yeah, I think actually Chef Donnie has an uncle who's a sake sommelier. Yeah, I didn't even know.
Do you like the cold or the hot? I like
think
sipping the hot.
Yeah, so the hot, but I think hot sake, it's usually the lower quality sake.
Okay.
And then like the high quality stuff, they serve chilled.
Okay, because I used to just think that was like the rocket fuel happy hour if you'd go drink sake and eat
Yes.
sushi. That was always the start. But in my younger
It
days,
is.
but clearly we've matured gratefully. Well, I guess before I let you get out of here, doing Chicago summer, hanging out, getting ready for Turkey. What have you thought about your first summer in Chicago? I mean, I just like can't get over how great it is.
I've loved it so far. Yeah, there were times in Paris I was like, oh damn, I kind of want to go back to Chicago right
It's
now.
just 73 with the breeze every day. It's insane.
Yeah, it's been great, and it started pretty early. People were like, oh, it doesn't like warm up until June. We had a great May out here, I feel like. So yeah, overall, I'm just coming up to a year in Chicago right now. I'm enjoying it. I'm actually trying to buy a house right now.
Okay.
Yeah, just placed an offer. The offer got accepted, but the inspector said there's some potential moisture issues where they don't know where they're coming from.
Well, it's good to be careful. We'll get that figured out before you buy it.
But yeah, it seems like I'll be in Chicago for a while.
I hope I am too, man. I'm really, really enjoying it. And I also want to mention, because you respect a good concert, just like all of us do, did Metallica Soldier Field Sunday night.
Let's go.
Holy freaking crap. I had luckily for me, so Stephen Shea and White Sox Dave was a two-nighter. They were Friday, Sunday. They went Friday, and luckily Dave was worn out Sunday, and I got his ticket.
Yeah.
We're in the 200 level, so I went with Shea. Have this guy on my left, 280-pound, probably in his 50s with a wife beater on. Dude, this dude bumped into me 40 to 50 times in the show. Like, I'm talking, just would never stop. And then I have a video I posted on my Instagram and Twitter. I was filming Enter Sandman, and at the 40-second mark, he just collapses into me in this video.
Because he was too drunk?
Yeah, dude, don't ever be like that person at a concert. Like, we all share, like, time and space. And, like, there was, like, a family in front of us that are, like, 14 and 10-year-old boys and a cool husband and wife, and he, like, was getting into it with dad. And Shay and I were just like, dude, people like this deserve to be buried below the ground.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, you can't do – but, I mean, like, dude's out there with this – I mean, like, people are out there with his family, making memories of their family, and they got to deal with this guy, come on.
I think all concerts and sporting venues should do it like Hong Kong Sevens. Whenever I go there, they have an area called self-stands. If you watch it from there, there are no rules. Anything goes. You can be as obnoxious, as drunk, or intoxicated as you want.
But then that keeps it away from the families.
And then if you watch it anywhere else besides the self-stands, it's just a normal sporting event. Everyone's behaved. I feel like if they did that, then you'd be like, okay, I'm really trying to turn up at this thing. You just get a ticket in the section where there's no rules.
Yeah.
It's like the purge, but then anywhere else, you don't have to worry about if you're trying to have a quiet night, if you're there with your kids, your wife, you're on a first date, that would solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I just like, I'm trying to defuse stuff. I'm not trying to get in a fight with some 280-pound lit up dude at a Metallica concert.
Yeah.
So it was just a very awkward situation for me because I'm just trying to defuse it, but it just never stopped. I mean, he literally bumped into me 40 or 50 times. But I will say the Metallica thing, like I obviously see a lot of live music, and I've been, especially this year, I'm on a run with like Stones and but hardest rocking concert I've ever been to in my whole life. Like they did like One Enter Sandman at the end, Unforgiven, Wherever I May Roam, For Whom the Bell Tolls. I mean, dude, it was unbelievable. And I had like a moment where I'm sure you'll get this too. Like one of my, like I had a Metallica phase in high school, and it was my freshman year. I rode to school with my buddy who was a senior, and he had like this Honda Accord with like this crazy system, and we would just like blast Metallica and 311 to like the max every morning. And he's one of my really good friends, and he actually died of cancer a few years ago. And I like got emotional thinking about it before the show and stuff. It was cool. Damn. Like texted his wife and all our friends and stuff. Like
rest in peace.
Yeah, man. Shout out Andy. But yeah, it was cool. That was an awesome experience. Loving the Chicago weather. As far as where I go, I'm getting ready for football. I'm going to take you up on the backpack in the Grove. We got to take a trip down there.
Yeah,
because you can get that. People will click on that for sure.
I'll reach out to sales about that because I could do a live stream at like the 6 best tailgate spots in the country.
No, people would love that.
Yeah.
Dude, people would get super behind it. But we're getting ready for football. Moody and I, we got some fantasy football stuff and announcements coming this week we're super excited about. Getting in the spirit of that. Obviously, I've been doing my SEC football previews. I've been doing pretty good. I'm writing the Ole Miss one today. Ole Miss number 6 preseason. So I'm just going nuts, getting ready for the season. And, it's a good vibe. I don't know, man. I think vibes are awesome here. We missed, I don't know. It just feels like things are trending the right way. Barstool's got a huge thing next week. Camp Barstool, too, up in northern Wisconsin. You're going to that, huh?
Yes.
Nice.
I believe so.
Nice. That'll be super fun. Got Barstool summer camp, man. That's a rabbit hole. I mean, I grew up. Did you grow up ever going to camps?
I did.
I did like 10 summers of it. I loved it.
Yeah. No, it is like I mean, I can see why my parents like encouraged me and my brother to go because it was a 1 month sleepaway camp. That's got to be great for parents. You just get a month with like no kids.
It's good for the kids to get off their phones too.
Yeah.
And get out in nature.
It is. I had a good time. But then like all of my friends from high school didn't go to camp. So I would always be like, why are you sending me to camp? I want to like hang out with all my friends from home. And then I was a counselor at 1.2. I did get fired halfway through because they found a little bit of weed in my dry cleaning.
Was it like a Christian camp or was it just?
No, it wasn't a Christian camp, but still, it doesn't matter if it's a Christian camp. They did not want any of the camp counselors. I had a day off and like a guy at a party walked up and handed it to me at the end of the party. And then I got back to camp, totally forgot he had handed me a nug, and then they found it in the laundry. Didn't even get to say goodbye to my campers. All my campers went to lunch. When they came back, I was moved out.
It sounds like a classic misunderstanding.
It was.
It's always a misunderstanding.
I was a great counselor. The campers were devastated. They were like, where the hell did he go?
I would love you as my camp counselor. You were probably the best camp counselor ever.
I was a solid counselor. But I'm excited to go back to camp next week. One last note about the Olympics. Shocked that they didn't sell beer at any of the events, and I'm just thinking like
how much money they didn't make.
Because like in Paris, I feel like there's a protest once a month where they're like, we don't have like the government is not giving us enough money, and like they're always complaining about that. They had a golden opportunity to make like $1 billion in alcohol sales and sponsorships, and the thing is, Olympic fans aren't rowdy. It's not like the World Cup where you're worried like, oh, are fights going to break out and stuff. Olympic fans have to be one of the like more well-behaved fan base. It's a bunch of like Jake Marshes and Jeff D. Lowe's like at the events. Like they're not trying to start fights. So I'm shocked they didn't do that.
No political unrest around you, huh?
No, it was funny. There was crazy protests going on in the UK while I was there.
Yeah, I did see that.
But yeah, no big protests in France. And like some days I'm like was wearing this like American USA flag onesie. I didn't have anyone try to start shit with me, something like that. I would get people being like, "Oh, America, fuck yeah," but like no one was actually Yeah, no, I didn't come close to getting in a fight.
I don't feel like you're. I mean, I can't imagine you getting to. You're a pretty peaceful guy.
Yeah, I would say overall, the only time I have was just because a guy called me the F word and threw my mic at a rugby match because I was dressed like Freddie Mercury.
What's
And
got
I
a
was
problem
not
with Freddie
asking for that.
Mercury?
What?
How's he got a problem with Freddie Mercury?
Yeah, I guess because he was extremely homophobic.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I thought we were accepting of all in this
Yep.
day and age. Well, Donnie, man, I appreciate it. Ended up I thought we were doing 20 minutes. We just did
Yes.
45. So I'm going to let you get out of here. I just
For
want to
sure.
say thank you. Welcome back. Glad to have you in
Thanks for having
Chicago.
me on.
Oh, dude. Like I said, I'm your biggest roadie. Shout out Moody. Love having you in studio. Stu Finer tomorrow. We're getting great responses to every time Stu comes on, so we're going to keep that as a weekly thing. And, be on the lookout for a lot more fun stuff coming, as always, from Barstool Sports. It's hell of a day. Shout out Stella Blues. Shout out Dude Wipes. Let's make it a great week, Mr. Moody.